Test, test. Hi, 1 second. Hello, hello, coming. Hello, 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 coming. Huh. Good morning, thank you. Hang on 1 second. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate, or for writing that, I appreciate it. I'll be just letting people in. Hang on, everybody. Sorry, this is so weird. Okay, good morning. I appreciate that. Good morning. And I'm serious. And we'll be in a second. What's going on? Okay. 1 sec. Good morning. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's still coming. Yes, things are cool. Okay, we're getting there. Oh, okay. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. I love that it really means a lot to me that you guys do this. I appreciate these like good mornings and stuff. I'm also going to ask you now, can you hear me? Oh, maybe that means no. Maybe you can't hear me. Wait a minute. Sorry. Oh, yes, you can. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. That's helpful. And then can I ask, and we're almost there. There's still more people coming and you can hear me. Okay, good. Thank you. I love that. I'm beginning to almost like this because you guys are nice about it. And by this, I mean Zoom teaching. So my last question for the moment is, I don't know if I can, my question is, can somebody make a noise so that I can make sure that I can hear you?
Hello.
Thank
Hi,
you. Okay.
Professor. Good
I
morning,
appreciate
Professor.
it. Thank you. But I really know that takes a lot of guts. I know nobody wants to be that person. I don't want to be that person right now talking. It's like just too weird to say hello in the middle of your own bedroom, but I appreciate it. So now I can hear you, or I mean, now I know I can hear you. You can hear me. We're going to get rolling here. Wait, oh, there's more people. Sorry. This is a big class. Wait a minute. I feel like the class is getting bigger, actually. Okay. Oh, and one other thing. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So, and again, okay, we're almost there. Lots to talk about today. More people. Okay. 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 And I see some of you, I appreciate it. I totally do. I totally appreciate that some of you are, I see, putting videos and pictures. And again, that's just to praise those people in the moment. It's not to insult anybody else who isn't. And I'm just saying anybody else who feels like at some point just coming on for a little while and then going off, it's just great. For me to have like some faces at some time is great. And it's just noted. Oh, quick question. Yes, good. Oh, and I do want to deal with questions like that for the Google Classroom assignment. Okay, no. Sorry. I just got a question that I just happened to realize is a private. I'm sorry. All right. So I'm about to respond to a question that happens to be in the private chat, but it's a totally fair question. And it's a kind of question that I will respect. I won't say the person's name because it's in the private chat, but this kind of question, just so you guys know, totally can be in the public chat and there's nothing about. So the question is, and again, we're going to deal with these kind of questions before we get to physics. I want to do a lot of physics this semester. I really do. I want to do more than it might even seem like I do, but I want to make sure at all times that we're like, okay, administratively, because I think that's really tough. So I got a question right here, assuming everybody can hear me and stuff and that we're rolling. I got a question about the Google Classroom assignment about game turn 3 or 4. Okay, totally, like basically the question says, is today a game turn 3 or is it game turn 4? I lost track, sadly. Not at all sad, totally reasonable that you would lose track. I do want to talk about this today. I think the whole game thing is probably confusing. It was confusing to people last semester, but it's pretty important and I think it's worth spending time on. So I think there are other questions like this too. And I'm going to apologize in advance that we are going to spend some time today on these kind of questions, on like syllabus questions, on Zoom questions. Like I want to get to the physics too, believe me, but because I hate these issues so much, I often don't spend enough time on them. And it's it's hard to do class this way. So I really want to encourage you all these questions about how class works, they'll continue to be valid all the way through the end. They really will. And so question number 1 is on this whole game business. I tried to make it a little clear. I tried to clean up your Google Classroom a bit over the weekend and like reorganize it so it's easier to see on your side. Let me start by saying anything that's called a game, or the topic that's in your Google Classroom is called a game, winning points via class participation. Okay. What this is it it's an extension of our old homework policy. Like anything that is in your syllabus document that explains how homework points work, how homework points affect your grade. And again, I will explain that again anyway, but it is in your syllabus. But just know that anything in your syllabus that talks about how homework points work totally does apply to this branch of homework called a game. A game, that whole thing, winning points through class participation, what this is kind of a clever, well, it's a intricate way so that any class participation that you guys do that I really do want to reward, that basically it turns your class participation into homework points that count on your average. Like in other words, it's technically all these class participation points that you're all going to get, they're technically just going into the homework bin of extra points, which then get added to your average at the end. By the way, I know this is not what the person is confused about. The person who asked me this question, I know they get this. I still haven't, I'm just backing up to try to clarify this for everybody. But the first thing I want to say is anytime you see any kind of assignment that says a game, turn 1 or turn 2 or turn 3, first and foremost, just know that technically speaking, for all intents and purposes, that's extra credit or optional or whatever. Like, first thing I want everybody to know is any assignment that's called a game, turn anything. Any assignment that's called a game, if any of you don't ever turn in that assignment or a bunch of them, it's totally fine. There's no punishment. It's not like, even though I know Google gives you a to-do list and tells you like what's due and stuff, and I have made a decision to put due dates on those things. Like, this is the part I want to explain to all of you. There are due dates on most of those game assignments in order to help you keep track and help me keep track and help it from being overwhelming. But they are, every single one of these game assignments is technically an extra credit portal. It's something that if you don't fill out, you'll never be punished for. And what do I really mean by that? I mean that if you get 100 on both exams or whatever, you get an A on both exams, then you'll never need to care. And I won't care that you didn't do those. Okay, so first and foremost, every one of these game things is to help your grade. And it will help your grade a lot. It'll give you a big cushion if you don't do well on the exams. But again, it's to help so that, you know, they're not meant to be more stressed. That still doesn't answer the question. The turn 3 and turn 4, technically only turn 3 was due today. Like, I just put in turn 4 right before the class because technically that's what's going to be due next class. In fact, to be clear, like technically every single class, I say technically, I mean officially, theoretically, right before every class or right after every class, I'm going to put in a new one of those turns, and they're all going to be identical. Every one of those 50-point turns. So like technically next week would be turn 5. I mean, next Monday, and then Wednesday would be turn 6. So I'm keeping number, and each one, yes, has a deadline. Like technically, I believe turn 3 was probably technically due today. Wait, technically, 10 turn 3.
Go at 10:50.
What? I'm sorry?
It was due today at 10:50, so like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Right. So, right. And that only because in principle, we had 2 classes already, right? Like turn 3. And again, I'm sorry to drag this out. I hate being boring, but I'd rather be boring than be unclear, especially about grades to everybody. So yeah, thank you. And by the way, who was that? I'm sorry. Who just said that? Who said turn 3 was due today at 10:50?
Me, Asia.
Okay, thank you. So just for everybody, just know that she just got 50 points for saying that, if she remembers. I mean, just to be like, when we talk about class participation, we're talking about anything. And the fact that she just said that actually was super helpful. So I don't care that it wasn't about like physics laws. But so why was turn 3 technically due at 10:50? Only technically because we had already had 2 classes. So I guess it really should be. Oh yeah, we already had 2 classes, right? And turn 2 was like a special extra thing that I put in that I'll explain in a minute. Like, so I guess the numbers are kind of funky, but it's just saying that after every class, you should find an opportunity after every single class that exists. There should be somewhere where one of you can fill out a quick form and get 50 points for that class. Like basically the numbering doesn't matter so much as knowing that after every class is over, if you want to go into your Google Classroom, you should be able to find a slot where you can, an assignment portal where you can just submit for the 50 points. If you didn't participate that day or you didn't go to class that day, fine, then, just skip it. So I guess technically what should have been done today would have been turn 2, right? But let me also say, wait, before I go any further. So technically, yes, turn 3 was due today at 10:50. But the deadlines are there to help you keep track and keep organized. It's just like that's the one that corresponded for class today. And then the next one will correspond to the next class. But if any of you are ever late on one of these game things, I don't care. I'm not even going to pretend to care, okay, if you're late. And in fact, if you hand in a bunch of them at some point, I don't care. I think it's going to make it more tricky for you and a little bit more tricky for me bookkeeping. But you just don't lie about them. Of course, you all understand we have recordings of these classes and the chat, logs are printed out in text files. Like, of course, you don't want to like make up class participation that you didn't actually do. Because I do have a good memory and I do, the more you do participation, the more I know you and the more I remember you. So anybody who like suddenly pretends that they've been in the class, like that wouldn't work. So don't lie. But don't stress about the deadlines. What it is just a record keeping function. What I'm really, really doing, not to overtalk this, but I know it is a new and weird system. The point, every single one that just says turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, and every single one that just has 50 points, if that standard game thing that I'm just going to put in your box every day, every class day, that is just like a daily log of whether you participated or not. And you can fill them out at any pace is good for you. It just sort of is to help you keep track. But then every now and then, so again, technically 3 was due today, I think. And again, I don't even care what the numbers are, right? But you have every single one of you at most at this point could have handed in 2 days worth of class participation. Like you could have handed in a game take 1, turn 1 from last week. You could turn in turn 3 to correspond to last Wednesday. And then, not to make this more complicated, but then you notice why the numbering is funky, is I throw in funky ones like, and hopefully I'll always put clarification in parentheses, but like a game turn 2, if you notice, actually had this title called For Right or For Wrong, okay? And then this other game, this other one that says Your Best, and again, I don't know why I gave one of them a number and the other one I didn't give a number, and that's probably a mistake. Maybe I'll change that. But you'll notice that the one that says a game your best and the one that says a game for right or for wrong, like those, same idea. They all go in the same bin. They're all going in the same topic. They're all just optional opportunities for points that you get as long as you take a moment to record your class participation and then submit it into this homework thing. But if they have special titles like that, then they're for like special versions of class participation that I just want to give extra awards to or something. So and you can use those at any time. That's why the dates are funky. Like if you, and again, I hate dragging this out, but if you look at the assignment that says a game turn 2 for right or for wrong, or if you look at the one that says a game your best, both of them like have special instructions and both of them are due like at the end of the semester, basically, almost just to say like, I don't even expect you just to turn those around right after class, sit on them and just know. So now I'm going to explain that. Well, so one of them is that thing about your best. And I hope I explained that last time. Please, someone let me know if I did not explain. The your best thing is sort of meant to sit there in your portal at all times. And you can, put in anything at any time and then take it out and put something else in. That's supposed to be the your best portal is possibly the most important one. So I will re-explain it if you want, but that's not for any particular day. That's why it's due at the end. Just whenever you start accumulating work and you think you've got one particular piece of work that's your best, put it in there, whether that's a midterm exam or a piece of homework or whatever. The other one, but that's why that's due at the end. Like that's just like a running thing. The other one, for right or for wrong, okay, here, that's an example of a particular kind of participation that I think warrants particular reward. I may not have explained this last time. What it means is that, and I try to say it in the instructions, but what I specifically mean is this. right now, any one of you that wrote even hello in the chat at the beginning, which again, really actually means a lot that you do that. It just makes it blah, blah. Any one of you who wrote hello already, there's your 50 points right there. Like at the end of today, when you see a game turn 4 or whatever the next one is, this is this standard 50 point sheet. You're literally just going to remind me that you said hello in the chat, or you're going to take a screenshot, whatever, and you're going to put that in for that 50 point. And I encourage you to do so. As stupid and easy as that sounds, it's meant to be that stupid and easy. You do that, you get your 50 points. 50 points really do get added onto your pile of points. At the end of the semester, you'll have a huge number of points that, of course, we have to divide by a scaling factor. I'll explain that too. That's in the syllabus. But so of course, by the end of the semester, if you do this right, you're gonna have like, 1,000 extra points or something. We're not gonna like add 1,000 points to your test average. We're not gonna do that, but almost. We're gonna take your exam average and with your lab, okay, sorry, I'm digressing slightly. This is in the syllabus, but this is how the grading works. At the end of the semester, and I will shut up in a second and make sure there aren't questions and stuff, but at the end of the semester, you'll have a midterm exam from lecture component of this class, you'll have a final exam, and you'll have your overall lab grade based on all the lab work you do for Professor Wu. Okay, you'll have those 3 big grades, 2 exams and a lab grade. In effect, that's like 3 exams. Like the way we weight it, lab is essentially a third of the class. I mean, which makes a lot of sense because you do a lot of work in the lab part. So you have, in effect, 2 exam grades and a lab grade. They're going to just get averaged together in the arithmetic mean standard conventional way. Like those 3 numbers, they get added together. We don't drop an exam grade or anything like that, but don't worry. But there is extra credit on the exams and stuff. But anyway, whatever those 3 scores are, sort of unweighted, uncurved scores, they get averaged together. That's like your basic average in the class. Now, in some cases, that might even be very low. Like just like, sometimes people do badly on exams, but whatever your average is, that's your base average. And then with all of these points that by the end of the semester, you will have accumulated from all regular homeworks and from these game homeworks, which are really just secret class participation things turned into homeworks, from all these extra points that you have, okay, you'll have this big pile of points. We will divide all those points by 1 scaling factor, by 1 number. It will be the same number for all students, of course, like all students in the class, but it is a different number every semester. I can't tell you what the number is now. We figure out that number at the end, and we figure out a number that ensures that people will, I mean, to be honest, we figure out a number that ensures that people will get A's. I mean, it's like a curve, you could say. But it's not a legitimate class. If nobody can pass this class, if nobody can get an A, obviously I'm doing something wrong, right? And not you. So, and different years are different. So we come up with 1 number at the end. It's kind of like a curving mechanism, but what it really does is we come up with 1 number to divide all of your homework points by. So say, you have like 1,000 homework points or something. We come up with a number, say the number is, say the number is 100. So we take your 1,000 points that we have, we divide by 100. And again, whatever we divide by, we're dividing the same for all students, no matter what. So we take your 1,000 points, your friend only has 500, but you have 1,000 points. We divide by the magic number 10, which, of course we tell you at the end if you care. I mean, but we don't know until the end. We divide your 1,000 by 10. We divide your 1,000 by 100. We get the number 10. So what does that mean? It means we now take 10 and we add it to your exam average. 10 points. Like if your exam average was 87, then you have a 97 in the class. And that is straight up and real. And that example is real. Like typically how many points typically what do people get added onto their average as a result of all the homework they do? Typically people do get like 8 points, 9 points, 10 points. People have gotten 12 points, 14 points in the past. If you do no homework, you get no points. Again, you don't get punished, but you just get none of it. So this is the way in which it's like a bonus or extra credit, if you want to think of it that way. But people can typically get like a whole 10 points added to their average. It literally changes your grade from some exam grade that might have been like a B, B minus. It could change you all the way from a B minus to an A minus or a B to an A or whatever. It's super important. I mean, I'm dragging it out, but I just want, so what I'm trying to say is every one of these points, everything that you hand in for points, anything that you hand in that's not an exam, you think of as points that are going to be, of course, scaled down at the end, but scaled down fairly, and then added to your average. We assume you need these points for your, for your average. So anything that's homework, now to finally answer the question, sorry to take so long, but anything that's homework, but especially any homework entitled a game, I don't want you to stress about the dates. It's not there. The dates are there to help you organize, to help me organize, to help you understand what it's about, that every day you have an opportunity to get 50 points. And then many interspersed days, you'll have other opportunities, just basically as I think of them. The minute somebody does something good that I think, oh my God, people should be doing that all the time. Like the minute someone puts a screenshot into the chat or something, and I haven't thought of that before, I will immediately, I'll make an assignment that says anybody who puts a screenshot into the chat from now on gets 75 points. Okay. And if any of you wants to privately chat to me to say, you know, I have a really hard time participating in these ways, but one thing I can do is blah. Like I really don't like talking. I don't like having my video on, but I don't mind putting screenshots in, or I don't mind blah. Like you tell me a way that works for you, and I'll just turn it into a point portal for anybody who is similar to you in that way. And anybody who isn't, that doesn't need that portal, and they'll get their points some other way. Okay. So again, there's a very long explanation, but I know it's a complicated system, or it's an unusual system. The bottom line is there's exams, and if you rock them, you don't have to worry about anything else. But outside of exams, anything you ever do at home, whether it's solve a problem or remind me of something you did in class, somehow there should be a way that you get points for that. And you just have to remind, you know, that's what this whole system is about, that you should get points for anything you do surrounding exams, and all the points you get will get added to your exam average at the end. And again, why this is like extra credit or something is it's not a competition. You could all get 1,000 points and I'd be fine with that. All right. So, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Okay. Great question. Okay. So I took too long on that, but now this question I'm seeing in the chat, absolutely. If you participate, and look, frankly, that's ideal. Anybody who participates by audio, oh yes, you get points for that. And that's part of why we have this. So that all what you would do then, say right today, somebody, actually at the beginning, I forget who it was, but somebody said hello, audio. Now I think that takes guts. And it also helps because it stops me. If you write in the chat, it doesn't stop me. So you might think it's more polite, and I guess it is. But you guys need to stop me because as you can see, I'm just going to keep talking and talking and talking. I'm going to space out and look at the ceiling and not even know what's happening. So anybody who has the guts to like just raise their voice and say something, yes, they should get points for that. In fact, so all they do tonight, if someone said something today, then tonight in the a game turn 4 or whatever it is that's due next time, literally just write down, remember I shouted stop, or I shouted hello, you know, my name is Michelle and I said hello, whatever. All you're doing is reminding me. You don't have to prove it because frankly, I'll remember. I do have that kind of memory. You're just reminding me. And in the doubt, if I don't remember, I'm going to believe you're not lying. I tend to prefer to trust people. So, you know, so yes, if it's, that's a great question. If it's voice, just remind me, scroll out like I used my voice and turn it in, and that's 50 points. You will find there's going to be a moment where I'll remember I'll put in an extra portal for 75 points for anybody who uses their voice, because I think it is actually that much more gutsy and helpful. Oh my God. And last thing on this, I know we're talking about this way too much, but you know, your grades are important. I mean, I think, or whatever, I think this is worth talking about. Last thing I almost forgot, double and triple dipping is totally okay. What do I mean by that? I mean, like today, someone said hello. That counts as regular everyday class participation. Boom, they can just write it in their regular, in the turn 4 portal thing. But if I also put out a portal that says you get 75 points for using your actual voice, like that's a specific word, you can literally, whoever you are, can literally put your same comment in both of those portals. Like you did your daily thing, and it happens to have been a special, you know, extra unique thing. So you put it in both portals. You can and should double dip, like basically. And why is that? Because once you get used to the system, then it makes it even less confusing. Like, because all you have to do there's like, look through those game instructions, and it doesn't matter if you're a little bit late, like any instruction that applies to something you did, put it in. Like that's your only test. If you feel like you can get those points without lying, grab those points. And if it means double or triple dipping, don't worry, I thought of that and it's okay. Wait, so is that, I think that, am I making, does this make any, oh, yeah, okay, so yes, if you participated by audio, absolutely. Am I making any sense? Like, in fact, even right now, could anybody give me a confirmation or, oh, yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. I totally appreciate that. Uh, well, and the one thing that counts, not as much, the one thing that's the trickiest, as long as, and thank you for saying yes, I'm going to assume that, but please keep the questions coming. Again, if I spent this whole period boring everybody and losing everybody, I would not like that. But if we spent the whole period and everybody was engaged and we were all talking about just how the class works, but everybody was talking about it and it seeming like it was calming them down, I would not consider that wasted time, as you can see. I mean, so you have to help me, get me back on track if that happens. So one more thing on that, on this whole, so please do stop me anytime if this doesn't make sense or something. But with the class participation, with this whole business of a game, turn 3, turn 4, I just forgot. Oh, yes. In my efforts to try to make this a little bit more clear on your end, like I tried to mess around with Google Classroom this weekend and clean it up and organize it, blah, blah. And I also, for what it's worth, I set up, you'll see my name as a student in the class because I set up a ghost student thing so that I at all times could get some sense of what it looks like on your end, because it does look very different. Um, and one thing I realized playing around with Google Classroom as a student, I did realize one thing that I've been saying that's probably confusing people. I make this big point about how you have to give me PDFs. I mean, I made this big point on Monday, like you have to give me a PDF, and we went through a practice about that. And I'm not trying to take that back, but now that I'm playing with Google Classroom, I realize that my big strictness about PDF is a little bit like left over from a few years ago where it was more necessary. I now realize, just for what it's worth, that if you're I understand now that you guys or I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that on your end of Google Classroom, if you're on a computer or a phone or a tablet, if you go, first of all, there's a to-do list in your Google Classroom, which is pretty great, actually, I think, and it's making me try to be more organized about these things. And if you want help with where that is, I can tell you. But if you go to your to-do list, like all the way to the left in Google Classroom, it's telling you what your assignments are, or whatever. You just go to the assignment part of any class, and when you open up the assignment, what I didn't quite realize, I think you guys were sort of telling me this last week and I didn't totally understand, even on your phone or your tablet or your computer, you can open up the assignment right there. And as long as your tablet or your phone or something has either Google Docs or like some kind of, document managing application app on it, you can do the homework right there. I didn't quite realize this because I don't think it used to be true, but I now realize you can like type your homework straight in to Google Classroom as a Google Doc or whatever. And as long as you're careful, like you do have to press the button turn in, and this catches people. Like you definitely have to press turn in. You have to make sure the document's there. But you can even, for what it's worth to people, you can open up a fresh Google Doc to start doing your homework, whatever, and start typing it if you like. But you can open up that Google Doc and leave it blank, and it'll save a blank document. And then you can hit it again, supposedly to edit your own document. Like, again, this might be old news to all of you, but I did not realize this. You can set up a blank Google Docs thing to just do your homework, or a game homework. You can leave it blank. Then you can hit the thing that says edit. And then if you happen to have a tablet or something like that, then you can go straight in and just scroll out with a stylus, scroll out in handwriting. And for some of you, that's much more comfortable. And especially on this game assignment where you're just like reminding me of something, you can totally do your homework straight into Google Classroom with a stylus, with a tablet, or with typing, whichever is preferable. But what I'm saying all that to say, if you do that and then it saves it as a Google Doc or whatever, I'm fine with that, if that makes it easier for you. The whole PDF thing was because I didn't know you could do that, basically. Do whatever, just the one thing I have to make sure of, and this came up, and I'll shift gears now, like, because I did look at all your homeworks the number line homeworks and stuff. One thing is just please, for whatever homework you're giving me, put all pages into one file. That's really why I keep saying PDF. I don't really care if it's a PDF or a Google Doc, but what it can't be, if you have a 4-page homework file, please do not submit 4 separate JPEGs or even 4 separate PDFs or anything. That becomes really problematic for grading and all of that. So, okay, long way. I'll summarize all this by saying, hopefully you guys got, any of you who did number line has gotten it back now. And even if parts of it I thought were wrong, you'll see if you got it back, and hopefully you did, if you did it. And then we'll move on to average speed and stuff like that. I mean, we'll go over it. We totally have to go over it and talk about it or finish it. But hopefully you noticed if you got it back. No, if you got it, if you did it, you hopefully got it back. If you got it back, you hopefully noticed that um, uh, wherever I think you're correct, I'm putting a check and stuff like that. But if I think you're doing work that's incorrect, at worst, probably I'll write something like okay, or I'll write we will discuss, or I'll try not to put an actual check. If you're actually saying something wrong, I don't want to literally say it's right. So I'll probably write okay or something. But then notice, even when I write okay, or we will discuss, or if I give you a hint or something like that, in I think almost every single case for all of you, you still get 50 points. I hope you noticed that. I hope you got your homework back and saw that even if you got comments or something from me, you're getting 50 points if you address everything in a clear, neat way. And like that really means making sure, like you don't, again, I don't want to, but now that I've seen all your first homeworks, I think they were really impressive. I mean, I think, so a lot of you already have a lot of points in this class. If you didn't do number line yet, you still can, and please do. But if you did do it, you got it back, and you hopefully saw that you got 50 points as long as you actually addressed everything, as long as it was clear what question you were on at any given moment, and you showed work, and then please do circle a final answer or highlight it or something. As long as every question is clearly addressed, and you do need to do that, like don't give up on a question, clearly address it, and then box a final answer, you'll get full points for the whole thing. You don't have to include the original question sheet. Please don't write on the original question sheet. Just do it. I know, again, this is, but since we've now had our first homework exchange, I think they were quite impressive, honestly, for the most part, especially since we didn't talk about it. You did what I wanted. I mean, I want to be able to look at that thing, know what question you're on without me having to turn to another sheet. I just like, I want to know. And then I want to see answers boxed. When you get to a question in the future, if and when you will, when you get to a question that you really think to yourself, I have no idea. Okay, I mean, the big lesson of this whole class, I won't dwell, big part of what we're going to talk about a lot in this class in the future is the whole idea of I have no idea. I want to say to you that idea, I have no idea what to do here. I have no idea what this question means. I totally sympathize. It happens in physics all the time. I've countless times had the experience of looking at a question in physics that is assigned to me. And what I think to myself is, I have no freaking idea. I don't even know what this thing is asking. Like, I don't even know what you want me to do. I've had that experience countless times as a physics major. I mean, as someone who chose to do physics with his life. When I say I've had that experience, I mean in the middle of exams. Like, I look at a question, I'm like, I have no idea what you are even freaking asking me. And I feel like I've been in this class and I have no idea what you're asking me. I know that feeling, and I will always be sympathetic to that feeling. It's probably why I'm a physics professor, is I will never criticize anybody for feeling that feeling of I have no idea what this question means. Okay, it will happen. But the point of this class is to try to work our way out of that feeling, to get, like, honestly, like, there will be a point where I will start getting stricter on the homework and taking off points for what I consider to be not trying as hard as you could. What I mean by, and we'll get into that, but what I want to say, right, so far it hasn't happened. Every single one of you tried every question, I think pretty much tried every question, and at worst you got a question wrong, no big deal. But when you get from here on in, if you get to a question where you think you have no idea what the question's even asking, the first thing to say to yourself is, oh yeah, wait, I better worry about what the question's asking. Like, it's probably true. If you think you have no idea what the question's asking, that is a problem. But that means right then and there, don't even worry about trying to answer it. First, just try to worry about what it's asking, which really means, and this is where I'll shut up, and I will give you a sheet about this. It really means that when in doubt, when you literally think that you literally have nothing to write down at all, and let's say it's like in the middle of an exam where you wouldn't want that feeling, the first thing always to write down to get things going and to get points and to get yourself on your own side and on my side, When in doubt, the first thing to do is start writing down definitions, like defining terms, which specifically usually means the terms in the question that maybe are the ones that are confusing you, that make you think you have no idea what the question means. Like first, just try to define important or difficult terms. It might mean looking in your notes. It might mean looking in your memory. It might mean looking on the web, but all of that is okay. But basically there will be a point where someone just writes down, I have no idea. I will take off points because I will be like, well, yes, you do. You have the idea of looking up the words that you don't know. Please start by doing that. Like there's always a place to start. And usually it feels like a kindergarten moment. But all right, that's a long way of saying I think you guys are totally on top of the homework so far. I think you very much are on top of the homework so far. I don't think anybody's behind. Okay, all right. Okay, so I see the yes makes sense. Thank God, because I'm talking way too. I'm going to stop talking for a second. Okay, I see the yes. Thank you. That's good. We're gonna. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just pause for like a minute. I want to turn to physics, but since I'm talking this much, I wanted to give everybody a minute to sit and think for a second. If you have any question like that one, I mean, and you don't have to ask it now. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, go.
Professor, what about if you like attempt the question, right? But the answer just seems like so confusing. Like
Oh,
you're not sure if it's correct or wrong.
oh yeah, no, that's a great. Oh, thank you. No, that really is a great question. I have to be careful. I'm going to go on for 20 minutes again now, but no, that's a great question, and it reminds me. It reminds me of the thing I'd never finished explaining, which was what I meant by a game turn to for right or for wrong. It's very relevant to what you're at. Okay, so let me back up. So what Nikaya is asking, is it good? Yes. What happens if you kind of do understand the question, and this could be in homework or it could be on an exam or it could be in the middle of class. Like say I'm asking a question and you kind of do know what I'm asking and you kind of do some stuff, but you're really not sure if the stuff you're doing is right or wrong. And most particularly, you're really not sure if your answer is right or wrong. Maybe you're even pretty sure that it's wrong. I'm very excited that Nikaya just asked that. I'm not BSing. The reason I think it's so important that she asked that is, yeah, that's a very common scenario that may be even more common for most of you than having no idea at all. It's probably more common that you have an idea, but you're not sure if it's right. That's the best place to be. That is literally why we're in this. And I'm not being sarcastic. Let me say that if you ever can write stuff down, but you're not sure if it's right or wrong, first of all, you're already getting tons of points. If it's homework, even if you write down an answer, if it's literally an answer and it's boxed, and let me be even more specific. If my question is asking for velocity, for speed, and speed is measured in meters per second, then I'm literally promising Nikaya and everybody here that anywhere except exams, I'll get to exam in a second, but say it's homework or labs or anything, if I'm asking for a speed and you literally do write down by the end, like speed equals 10 meters per second or 10 miles per hour, like some legitimate units that actually are for speed. And you write that down then and you circle it and you've shown work. Now, let me tell you, if that number is wrong, you're still getting totally full credit for the mere fact that what you gave me, what you clearly showed me that you understood the question by giving me a speed in speed units. If God forbid the actual speed number is wrong, that is so easy. That's why I'm here and I have a job and why you're here in the class. Like that's where the tuition money is worth it, is if you know kind of what to do, but not correctly. Boy, I can fix that with you. Like then I know you did work. I know you're totally in conversation with me. You're looking for a speed. I'm asking for a speed. Oh, you got the wrong speed. Okay, that is totally what homework is for. You will get full credit on the homework. And I'm dead serious. Like I dead serious. You'll get full credit on the homework. Hopefully, if I'm on my game, I'll write down like, okay, we'll discuss, and then you'll remind me in class or whatever, and we'll go over it. But no problem. Like that's a great place for you to be. Now, if you're in an exam, of course, no one wants to be in that position in an exam of not being sure if you're right. But what I really want to say is on an exam, first of all, the thing with physics exams, and I think a lot of science exams, is it's so easy to be in a place where you're actually paralyzed and don't even have an idea, that you're already in great shape. If you're doing something on an exam and at worst, you just don't think it's right, but it is something and it's what's in your mind, definitely do it. Definitely know you're already doing better than a lot of people. And then if it's an exam, if you get all the way to the end, I'm asking for a speed. And I'm asking for a speed in meters per second. And you get a speed in meter per second, but you're pretty sure it's wrong. Especially if you're pretty sure for a reason, like you don't like the number, it seems too big, or you know you fudged a step somewhere in the work, like you were doing stuff, but then you like made up something you know is a fudge. Here's the habit that you wouldn't expect, but that I want to tell you what you do there in an exam. If you're doing stuff and being a good person, but you really are not confident of it, literally write that down. Like be as honest as you can. You like literally say, this is my answer. I don't think it's right because I assumed constant velocity and I assumed constant something, and I don't really think that's right. If you do that on an exam, not only are you going to get a lot more points than you think you're going to get a lot of points for all the work and all that and the communication. But at the final moment, whatever points I was going to take off for you being wrong, let's say you were wrong and I was going to take off 3. If you actually write a note and explain exactly why it's wrong or why you think it might be wrong, already I promise I'm giving back some of those 3 points right then and there. Like you won't even lose those 3 points. And and I'm going to dwell on this because what we're here to learn in a way is how to get smarter. And the secret to getting smarter is being willing to dwell in the wrong space. It's like willingness to be wrong is so important in science and so hard. And believe me, it's really hard for me. I mean, I'll talk more about that, but it's really hard to write down something that you think is wrong. It's so hard that most people won't even write it down. Most people will freeze in the middle of an exam or homework. If they think something in their mind, but they're not sure of it, they would rather put nothing. Most people, including me, would just rather not have their wrongness sitting there on paper for someone else to make fun of or secretly judge or something like that. It is so hard to write something down that you actually think might be wrong that I'm telling you all, it's the secret of science. You write something down. First secret is write shit down, period, because it's better to have something written down than not. But then the second thing is if you actually think it's wrong, literally write a statement about why you think it's wrong, because now you're truly covering yourself. Because the fact is, either what you wrote down was right, and then I'll just sort of take note of your note and find it interesting, but I'm not going to punish you for your note. Or what you wrote down was wrong, but now you're correctly analyzing something incorrect. You're telling me something insightful when you tell me I think it's wrong because like I assumed constant acceleration and I don't really think that assumption is right? If you literally write that down, and you do have time to because the exams won't be timed, you just got yourself more points in a big way, literally points on the exam, but also with me as a physics person. Like that is what it really means to do science, is to constantly just be doing stuff and constantly checking what you're doing, never thinking it's right or wrong, but always saying, well, I think this could be wrong for this reason. I'm going to go one step further. Like, why would someone, like by the time you write that, you might even say to yourself, well, why would I assume it was constant acceleration if I knew that was wrong? The reason you would assume that is because in your heart, you know you could solve the problem that way. So you are kind of fudging, right? You might make an assumption that helps you solve the problem, but you're just not really sure if it's a fair assumption. And if you don't make the assumption, you don't know what to do, right? All of that is the right way to do science research and get better at science. All of that is the right thing to do, to make assumptions that help you move on, but then just to honestly say, I'm not sure about this assumption. So again, this is a very long explanation, but what we're really actually here to learn is to how to be wrong and not be too worried about it. So the long answer to Nikai's question is like, if you're already in the position where you're writing stuff down, but you're just not sure, you're in a great place, especially if you're sure that you're not sure, just articulate that. And also one last thing, anybody who's too sure at any time about physics, anybody who's too sure, who's doing a lot of stuff and never thinking they're wrong, I'm suspicious of. Like that would not, generally the people that are doing the most work and trying the hardest in physics are the people that are the most insecure and think they're getting it the least. The more people are doing physics, the more they think they're not understanding anything because they have respect for the trickiness of it. All right, well, that's really, did that answer your question at all though, Nikai? All right, let me look at the chat. I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you. All right, I appreciate it. Okay. Oh, okay. And now all right, I'm going to keep answering these questions. I will try. I hope I'm not. I think these questions are valid. So I see Yasmin's question. I appreciate, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. On the exams, and as we get closer, we'll talk more about this. But no, you don't only have one day to take the exam. Both of your exams in this class, your midterm exam and your final exam. I mean, both exams in the lecture component, like whether or not you have a lab practicum is up to Professor Wu. Sometimes he does. Like I don't know what's going to happen in there, but the two exams that you have in the lecture piece are a midterm and a final. And I'm telling everybody right now, they're both take-home exams where you have time, like where you'll have a few days, like a weekend, between when they're posted and when you turn them in, and you're going to turn them in into Google Classroom. So you are not meant to be under a time crunch when you take these exams like that. So no, I mean, you don't have infinite time, but you have a couple of, and when I say you have a couple of days for each of them, that also means I'm not expecting that you're sitting down and doing the whole exam under exam conditions in one shot. Like, we're not pretending that, and we're not doing that. The exams are more like, if they're more like, like a history term project or essay or something like that. Like, you have time to work on them. You go back and forth between them. You put it down, you pick it up. It's not exam conditions in this class, not in physics, not during COVID anyway. Now that will make your exams a lot less stressful in some ways, hopefully, but it doesn't make them a joke either. We'll talk about that. But does that answer Yasmin's question? Okay, cool. Okay, all right, cool. All right, so again, my agenda is to go to, oh, no, I still haven't answered. Sorry, last thing on that Nikaya reminded me of when she asked her question is, so a game turn 2 for right or for wrong, maybe I already explained this, but that's an example of like one of the special game things. Like, some of you might never turn this one in. I mean, I hope you all do, but some of you might never. It might not be your style to do this. But what it's about, when it says for right or for wrong, and I made you more of those, it means anybody who has the guts to put something in the chat or say something vocally or whatever, to say something that's literally, that's not just a question, but a statement where literally it could be right or wrong. Like, in other words, once we finally get into the going over physics here, like when we start say we're talking about physics in a few minutes, if someone actually says, okay, for question 5, I got the answer 7, or if they even say, if I say, can we go over question 5, and someone starts talking about it and they say, well, I began by believing that the total distance was blah, right? Like, so they say something to everybody, or they put it in the chat, but they say something that literally is specific and concrete enough or numerical enough that now I, as the teacher, could potentially say, like, that's right, good. Or I could potentially say, oh, that's wrong, actually. Like, in other words, if you say, I'm feeling good today, oh, I can't say that's right or wrong. Like, that's just what you're feeling. Or if you ask me a question, I can't say right or wrong. I just answer the question. But if you actually come out and assert something numerical or quantitative in front of everybody that is verifiable enough that you're waiting, like that I'm either going to now go, she's right, or I'm going to go, he's wrong, or whatever, like that takes guts on your part to put yourself out there to where the professor might even say you're wrong in front of everybody. It's a terrible feeling. None of us like it, but it's the feeling we need to get used to as scientists. And also, I hope you'll get to know me better and know that I really won't judge you or I'll try, like, hopefully I'm not trying to publicly embarrass you for that. But if you say something, if you take the risk of saying something that you're hoping I'm going to go, that's right, but I could potentially go, that's wrong, that's 75 or whatever points I put in, that's points right there. Some of you might never do that. Some of you might just ask questions every day and rock the exams and get an A. But some of you will actually participate in a way where you're taking the risk that I might say that you're wrong in front of everybody. And that's all I'll say. I'm not going to be rude about it. But if you have the guts to do that, I want to give you points for that. And so that just goes back to Nikaya's question, like, part of the secret of doing good physics is being willing to do a lot of bad physics. Or it's like taking photographs back in the day before digital photography. Like, to get one photograph that's good, you got to waste a lot of film, right? That's what this is about here. So the more, and that's why I have all these point structures and weirdness. I just want to see stuff from you guys. Stuff is good, like contribution good, attempts are good. Perfection will leave to Einstein and Moses. Like, seriously, I was not a perfect, I mean, the more we get to know each other, the more I'll tell you the kind of grades I sometimes got in physics and blah, blah, blah. It ain't about being a champion instantaneously. It is about like public struggle. So that's what the for right or wrong portal is about, is like the minute, and you can double dip, but the minute anybody puts anything in this chat, even like, whatever, if you put in something that potentially I might say, and by the way, I don't have to say it's wrong for you to get the points. I don't have to say it's right. But if you said something that risked me now pointing out that it was wrong, you submit that to a game turn number 2. Okay, so now I'm going to say again, I'm going to pause for a second, catch my breath. I'm going to leave like a moment of silence for anybody to have any more. The questions are valid. They are valid. Any questions about how the class works, please. So I'm going to just pause for a minute to give you time to collect your thoughts. If there are no questions, then I'm going to go on. I'm going to start talking about number line, and physics and stuff. But yeah, let's just pause. I'm just going to pause for a second to see if there's any questions. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. I see your question. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Great question. I'm so glad we're doing this. Okay. A direct question. So I'm not going to mention the name, but it's a very good question. So someone said they submitted 2 PDFs instead of 1. And I assume that means like for one assignment, they submitted 2 PDFs. So now they're asking, can they still put it into 1 and submit it without being late? First of all, yes. Let me read that more carefully. They ask, can I still put the 2 PDFs into 1? Like, in other words, change what they submitted and still submit it without it being late? That is a very fair question. I'm going to take that to mean a more general question of like, if you realize something is wrong with your homework, especially a formatting thing, can you change it without being late? Yes. The answer is yes. When it comes to homework of any kind, lateness really only starts mattering if you once you're submitting homeworks to me that we have fully gone over in class, right? Once we've fully gone over something in class, and then for whatever reason you're submitting it to me, then it might be in my mind. Then I might be paying attention to the clock. Like, then I'm going to look closely. Are you making it clear to me that you're like, if you turn in something after you've gone over it, that is still okay, especially if you make it clear that that's what you're doing, right? But only at that point, once you've turned in something that we've already talked about, am I even thinking about the calendar or the clock, or even thinking about whether I should pay attention to how late you are. Until that point, anything that we have not gone over yet, I don't care what Google Classroom says. It's there to like try to keep track of stuff for us. But if we have not gone over something, then I don't consider it late. Like, if you're still ahead of me, you're not late. So definitely you can so first of all, don't even overly worry about the late thing, but certainly to correct something or to make it better, I will definitely not count it against you if you did that. Especially if it's formatting, like, it makes it much easier for me to grade if it's 1 PDF rather than 2. So I'd much rather you take the extra moment to do that. And if you're worried, you can always put a comment in the thing, like, say, this is technically looks late, but it's just because I switched the documents. It's fine, totally fine. That also goes for if you just want to improve your work. If you just want to add another draft because it got better or because of class or something, like, lateness doesn't really start mattering at all with homework until it starts becoming too difficult for you to manage or something like that. Or I start thinking you're blatantly just like, waiting till we go over something in class and then writing it down as though you did it yourself and turning in it. That would be a dumb thing to do. And the thing is, it would catch up with you and I would know. But other than that, any more work you ever do, if you ever feel like correcting anything that you're doing or doing more of anything, don't let the idea of the clock stop you from doing that. I'm horrible with the clock. I cannot take out the clock on you guys. Like, it's about sequence, like doing the right thing next. But yeah, I mean, if you ever have a question around, should I do this or will he count it late? Just do it. Like, I won't. And if I do, then you can tell me. So that's a good question. It also reminded me of one other thing, 2 PDFs instead of 1. Yeah, and I'm still a little unclear on this, but I think I tested as a student. It's true, you could put in a homework assignment and then technically, if I haven't graded it, you have the power to unsubmit your homework and submit a new one. You have the technological power to do that. I wouldn't recommend it. I would say, again, anytime if I open your name for any given assignment, another reason for this 1 PDF thing is every document I see there, as long as I believe at this point you're following instructions and only giving me 1 document per thing. If I see 3 documents there, I'm going to assume that means you did 3 drafts or 3 revisions, and I'm only going to be that much more impressed. I will probably start by just looking at the most recent one, and I might end up ignoring the others, but you're never doing yourself damage by showing me that you did extra work. If that, so another way of putting that, anytime you ever think that you do something wrong, please don't try to remove it from the universe. Like this happens in exams all the time. Like you're working, and then you realize you did something wrong, whoever you are. So then you sit, I used to do this. I'd be doing an exam, I'm writing stuff right, and then I realized I made a mistake. So now I spend 10 minutes with my like NASA developed eraser that I like brought in a thermos or something. I take out some huge eraser and start like trying to obliterate all my horrific work from the universe so the professor, God forbid, will never see what a retard I think I am. Or I'm like whiting out like crazy and then making instructions of please read this page instead of that page. Totally dumb. Don't do that. It's a total waste of time. Like if you think you make a mistake somewhere, okay, draw a thin line through it and say do over and then like, circle the right stuff. But don't obliterate your work, because the minute you realize that you might have made a mistake, you got to realize that you might be making a mistake about having made a mistake. Like you don't know. So the worst thing that happens is you're showing me how much work you're doing, how much you're trying. Don't try to obliterate wrongness from the universe. Just leave it be and move on with rightness. Why am I saying all? So that's all to say. Why is that all to say? What does that have to do with? Oh, it's 2 PDFs. One. So like anything you put in Google Classroom, don't try to snatch it back if you think it's imperfect. Just know it's just indicating how present you are in the class. Okay, I'm gonna pause again. Sorry, I know this is, oh my God, we're like almost done with class, I know, but look, but I'll say this, I just want to remind you something else. So I've been teaching for a long time, right? I think I know how to teach sort of when I'm on my game, but this Zoom business teaching, I think I mentioned, but I'm watching my 6-year-old go through it right now. It's horrible. Like, and I'm as a parent, like I'm trying to keep up with all this stupid teacher links, and his teachers even use Google Classroom for God's sake, and and Zoom, and I can't keep up with the links and the expectations and how fast they change homework. And he's in kindergarten, and I'm getting stressed out like by getting through his curriculum, partly because all this Google Classroom and Zoom stuff is such a mess. So, oh, sorry, go.
Entire time, shit. I just realized. I'm sorry. My mic has been sort of not working lately. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. But did you want to? And I'm sorry I'm taking so much time on this. I know. But did you want to say something? Were you trying to say something or?
No, it's no biggie. I just wanted to make sure my mic was working. Just
okay.
I really 10 minutes of shit.
Right. No, and I apologize. Right. So everybody, I realize that I've now spent practically this whole class talking about this, but the upshot of all this is if I'm going to spend this much time holding you guys all captive to talk about like homework issues or Zoom issues, the flip side of that is I want to make it clear to all of you that I think this is a pain, like for you. I mean, I think it is a pain to try to manage my expectations remotely. So what I do want, so the reason I'm willing to talk about all this is, again, like as a student or as a parent, it's driving me crazy to be on your end. So anything we can do, like take this as my heartfelt, this is how much I care about not making this any harder than it needs to be. So anytime, so for example, the YouTube, like we are, like all the stupidity that we just talked about, even though it's not interesting or physics, all this is being recorded and it's going to be on YouTube tonight. And hopefully, I don't know if anybody checked, but hopefully you're seeing that I'm not only putting these things on YouTube, but then putting them as direct links into the classroom. Oh, okay. 1 second. Oh, wait. Oh, this is a very good question too. Okay, I'll finish my quick point and then that's a very fair question from someone directly. All right, and we may have to wrap it. But one thing is, hopefully you're finding the YouTube links in the Google Classroom. They'll become more valuable as our material gets thicker, which it will. But nonetheless, please, anything you can put in the chat or like just little tips of how I could just rearrange things to make links more clear or homeworks more clear, whatever, I'm open to them. If I can't, I can't. But if I can, I will, because I'd rather waste time talking about these things than have you waste time at home when you feel like doing physics. It should be easy to know how to go about doing it. But then, okay, that brings up the last question. Someone just put a question in the chat, very fair question. Maybe this is where we're going to end today. And again, I apologize. We really will get the physics rolling. But someone actually wrote in the chat that they're having a hard time doing the physics homework because we haven't talked about any of it yet. Now that's super fair. Okay, that is super. I mean, they put it more politely than that, but someone just asked in the chat, like, how do I have any advice of where to look to do the homework since we haven't started talking about it yet? Okay, very fair. I mean, we will catch up with ourselves and it's not always going to feel this way. But the most direct thing I can say, two things about that. And again, I want to separate. It's a fair question. I totally sympathize with the emotions. And the fastest thing I can say to calm a person down is, if right now you're finding the homework hard because I haven't said anything about it yet, let me tell you, I get that. I have not said anything about it yet. So that is just yet another reason why I will accept that. I will accept that homework at any time from anyone. I mean, I definitely don't think it's late since we haven't talked about it yet. So one thing is just hang in there. And we're going to get to it. And then you'll still have an opportunity to hand it in. If when we start talking about it in class, if it makes it easier, this is why I don't want you to get too bogged down in deadlines when it comes to homework. At any moment, if the homework starts getting more clarified, you can fully either resubmit or submit it then for a grade, as long as you're being honest about it. So first, so whoever's asking this question, I'm very aware we have not talked about the homework yet. And for example, I'm not going to assign any, we now have more to go over than, like, I'm not going to assign another one for next Wednesday. We've got plenty to go over now. I realize that, but now let me be more specific too. It actually has been true always in physics that part of the difficulty in physics is you will always be, homework is actually always going to come before the discussion. It is true that unlike sometimes in biology or chemistry, well, it's true that even in our ideal form of this class, even if there isn't COVID or whatever, what we do is present you with questions for homework with some definitions and ask you to think about them on your own and go anywhere you want. Like, you can go on the web to Khan Academy, or you can go to Wikipedia and stuff or to the textbook. But what we actually believe is, even though it seems really hard at first, what? Oh.
Raven again.
Oh, okay. The truth is, for the first two homeworks, as hard as they might seem to, and I know I haven't said anything about them, so you're going to get 50 points even if you get them all wrong, and blah blah, and you have more time to do them, and I will start talking about it next time. So it's not meant, it's not meant to be a trick, but it is true that in the first two homeworks, in theory, everything you need in order to do those number line or average speed, in theory, everything you need is the definitions that we give you at the top of the sheets. Now, it's simple, but it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but in principle, if those definitions make sense, like the distance is how far we go from here to there or from there to here, regardless of direction. But displacement, just to say this quickly, if displacement is the sort of thing that can be negative or positive, that displacement is literally your final position minus your initial position. And I'm saying that fast, but what we are saying is a lot of physics has to do with just strict application of definitions. And the definitions you need for those first two sheets are actually given in the sheets. Like, average speed is defined to be distance divided by time. Now, in theory, and this is a good almost place for us. So what I'm saying right now is, in theory, at the beginning, you should be able to do those sheets without having to look anything else up. You certainly can, but I say that in theory. What I know for a fact is, like, the first 5 questions on number line, I think can sort of be answered if you just trust the definitions and you trust that they're not trick questions. And in average speed, the first few, like the warm-up questions and stuff, can be answered in the way that I'm saying, like without major textbook crunching or anything. But we're going to talk about the sheets. I promise we'll start right away with the sheets on Wednesday. And what you'll see is that if you take the definitions really strictly, you can get all the answers on the sheets, but you have to be really strict about the definitions. Like, you have to believe them even more seriously than you might think, to the point where, and I'm going to jump ahead right now, I'm not saying this to intimidate anybody, but on the average speed sheet, for example, there's a couple of problems at the end, like one about going up a hill and coming down a hill. You go up the hill at 40 miles per hour and you come down the hill at 60 miles per hour. And the question is, what's the average speed for the whole hill? Now, I'm going to tell everybody right now, I've seen some of you have handed this in, most of you not, it wasn't due yet technically, but I'm just going to tell everybody, you should be able to do that problem just using the definitions. I'm not expecting any prior physics or anything like that, but I will tell you that you have to use the definitions, because if you use your own definitions that you think are reasonable but aren't printed on the sheet, you might get the answer 50 Now I'm jumping ahead here. I know we're about to wrap up, but just for a taste for people who are bored at the moment, on that second sheet on average speed, oh, the question, hill figure, up, down, 40, up, 60 down. It's very tempting to think that the answer is 50, but the answer is not 50. And I actually was impressed. I got the right answer from people who've already turned it in. The answer is not 50. And you can get it by really strictly following the definitions on the sheet. So it's almost what I'm really saying. It's a really legit, you will get more used to this class. Like we will start going over the sheets and you'll see more that when we go over sheet 1, you'll have a better grip of doing sheet 2 by yourself. But right now you would definitely feel lost because I haven't said anything. I appreciate that. But yes, not only you are allowed to look at any other resource you want, and things will get clearer when I talk about it in class. But the more we talk in class and the more we proceed, the more hopefully you'll start to see that the weird thing about physics is that you don't need, you're almost doing yourself a disservice if you look too hard for answers outside. It's more about actual thinking than looking up, but there's no reason to trust that yet. So right now, the fastest thing to say about it, if you're confused about the homework, I know I haven't talked about it at all yet. So if you haven't turned in any homework, it's totally fine. If you start turning it in on Monday, it's totally fine. But starting Monday, I will start going over it and giving out the answers and stuff like that. But now I think class, but sorry. Okay. So I'm sorry to, oh wait, oh no, we still have 5. People are coming in from the other class. But all right, so wait, since we still have 5 minutes, did that answer? I know it was a private question, so I don't want to. Oh, wait, okay, wait. Now I'm catching up. Oh, yeah, okay, good, thank you. Oh, okay, wait. And nothing is off topic. This is all good as long as I'm not boring you guys. I know we have 5 minutes. I'm going to keep, I see more questions in the chat, so I'm going to answer. Hold on 1 second. Oh, so yes, we totally post. So this is, and let me encourage you too. Try to go public with these questions. I do understand why you're asking them privately, but the more, what I do really reward is all this public stuff. The more you can go public, it just helps anyway, or whatever. All right. So question in the private chat is, do I post study guides for exams? Absolutely. More specifically, and we'll talk about this. It's not just that you get a study guide. What you get is a practice exam. We're not announcing the midterm yet. I mean, we'll get to that, but when it's about a week before the midterm, you're not going to be, there's no surprise test or anything, but about a week before the midterm, we're going to give you a practice midterm. We're going to give you a document that looks 85% identical to your actual midterm, and your actual midterm will change some numbers and stuff like that, but you'll get in effect an advanced copy of the test and you're welcome to find them from prior semesters if you can find them. It's not cheating. And we'll even give you some solutions to it. So yeah, I mean, the fast answer is you're going to get a practice exam before you even get the exam. So the idea when you get to the exam is whatever's hard about it should just be the hardness of physics. There should be no guessing game about what do you think I'm going to put on it or anything like that. So that's the study guide, but we'll talk more about that. And then syllabus, and then someone's also asked me, okay, so I'm working on email. I've been very bad about email in the past. I'm really trying to be better about it. I mean, there's no excuse for that. I'm trying to be much better about email. Someone's asked, but I already see them behind on some. Let me just remind everybody, if I'm being a little slow, if you sent me an email and I'm being slow about it, I'm not trying to defend myself. That's not good. But just to accelerate things, if you send, please do feel free to text me if I haven't seen your email for a day or two like that. It's not your responsibility, but it just might be faster if you just text me and say who you are. So I think I have missed a couple of emails about office hours. There was an email about office hours that I missed or didn't respond to. I actually haven't posted official office hours yet. The best way to have right now, the best thing to do is text me. And I mean that, like, say who you are, say, I'd like to know your office. I'd like an appointment, or I think, and I mean, I will make official office hours, but the truth is, especially with Zoom and everything, the easiest, fastest thing right now is to text me and say, I would like a 20-minute appointment or a 15-minute or something like that. And we'll arrange it through text right there. I will ultimately have office hours probably on Thursdays, but I have to work that out because the schedule is still in flux. But when in doubt, please text me and let me know who you are. And at worst, just text me and say, like, I left you a bunch of information in an email, please go look at or something. But okay. All right, that's very nice. Okay, well, all right. Well, I appreciate that, but what I could promise to try better. I'm still pretty, but please do, use. Please feel free to text me especially if it's something I can deal with quickly. Like especially if it's just like, can we set up a 20-minute appointment? Absolutely. But I'll just be faster about that with text because, as you all know, with texting, I'll just get the text. I don't have to look at a million other. I don't have to go through a whole inbox of all the millions of other things I've done wrong in life just because you have a 5-minute thing. So, so please text. Okay. Now what time is it? Oh my God, 12:01. What else am I forgetting? Okay, here I'll say fat. You know what I'm gonna do because we have 4 minutes? Don't be intimidated by this, but just because so many of you did do your homework and try very hard on stuff, and since it is probably getting stressed, let me first of all say that I think the answer, I'm gonna say a couple of answers. It's just so you can see if you're doing it right or wrong. This is not an explanation. This does not substitute for an explanation. We will start explanations and talking about things on Wednesday. Again, I hope that priority choice is okay. But if you want to know how you're doing, well, I guess I did. But yeah, I guess I did turn it back. But like, yeah, the answer to the first question on number line was 21 feet. Because what we're asking there is total distance. So we're literally asking you to just add up all the chunks of distance that happened. Like first the professor went from spot 4 all the way to spot -5, I think. Right. So that's 9 spots he traveled. Like, I don't care that it was to the left or to the right. If we're talking about distance, 9 feet were covered. Then he walked back from -5 to 4 again. So it's another 9. So it's like 9. Am I doing the wrong number? Is this right? Am I saying the right numbers? I feel like I'm saying the wrong numbers. Was that the problem? Does someone want to correct me quick? We have 1 minute. Well, anyway, you add up all the way there, then all the way back, and then he went. Yeah, I'm definitely saying the wrong numbers, but you add up all the feet that he went to the left, then all the feet that he went to the right, and then all the feet that he went to the left again. Just add them all up, you get a total of 21 feet. That's your answer for the first question. The second question is, what's his total displacement? We're going to end on this right now. I know it's about 12:05, but the second question is, what's his total displacement? For that, you're taking into account direction. For that, you're saying, I literally want to know just how much he was displaced. Like, how much was he moved from beginning to end, all things like in total, not worrying about how he ended up there, but just where he ended up. So he ended up at position -5. He started at position 4. So it's literally -5 minus 4. Like, what's the difference between -5 and 4? And we're going from final to initial to find out how much total he progressed. Well, from -5 minus 4 is -9. The displacement for the whole thing was -9 feet. And that's the proper answer. The answer should be negative. It is negative. And that's it. All right, wait, but I think it's so okay. If I could just get a goodbye, like I have to go to the other class now. You have to go to a class, presumably.
Bye, Professor.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
Professor.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye. Thank you. I'll post this. This will all be posted. Thank you very much. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Sonia, you're cool? Are all good? And Sonia, can you hear me? Are you there? Or you? All right, I'm gonna.